It's really inspiring to be here, to be back in Würzburg, my hometown, to be here in that hall with you, and especially to be here with you. So, the topic I brought here is actually really simple and really light. So I think we can directly jump into it. Who of you here in that room believes that changing the world is actually really simple? Please raise your hand. There's a lot of hesitation. A few. Great. I guess most of you are students. Who of you is below 25? Also raise your... Wow. That's a majority. Between 25 and 30. A few. And above 30. Great. That's amazing. And the last question before we jump into more details. How motivated are you yourself to change the world? Let's say on a scale from 1, you're not so motivated, to 5, you're really motivated and engaged almost every day. And just intuitively raise your hand when you think this is my number. So 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Yes, I'm not alone. Thank you, guys. Okay, cool. I give it 3.8 on average. So I'm sure we will have a lot of fun the next minutes. So you already heard a few words about me. To sum it up, if this is working. Yes. This is what I'm doing. I am changing the world. In fact, you are too. And by the end of this talk, I really hope that you have a clearer understanding how you do that. And we will even do it together. So my personal story of changing the world starts in 2009. I graduated here from a college in Würzburg, and I went out into the world. And I had a backpack full of passion, motivation. So yes, I wanted to change the world and teach. And after a few weeks when I arrived, I realized, wait a minute, actually I am the one who is being taught here. I was part of a host family of different communities, and people didn't have many possessions or security, yet they lived a predominantly happy and joyful life. So what I learned was the simplicity in life, which for me was really a wonderful gift to receive. And also a gift that I carried home in my backpack to Germany. And arriving back here, I experienced what is called a reverse culture shock. So I had difficulties to fit in again, and I started to question things. Why do we put so much pressure on ourselves? Why do we stress out when we are just 5 minutes late? And ultimately, I was really asking myself, how is it that we create the environment that we are living in? And how can we change it? This was one of the reasons why I started to study sociology. And at some point I realized, wait, what I have to do is to think in systems. We are all part of systems. For example, you behave differently at home with your parents than you do in a classroom, or you do when you're standing on the sports field. And that is because the system or the environment has a certain dynamic, or you could say a life on its own. And that dynamic, in a way, predefines what you can do, what you want to do, and also how you feel. Yet I also realized that there is more to the story. It's not just the system, and we are not just passively participating in that. So we can also compare one system to another. We have life experience that we bring with us. So we also have freedom to act, and we can choose how we relate to the environment that we are in. So here I got my second key ingredient, which is to know your choices. To know when I can choose and what I can choose. And these, for me, are the two magical ingredients in the soup of change that we can cook together. So to know your choices and to think in systems. What we're going to do now is to go a bit deeper, and what could be more simple than to jump into science? So you know my background is in sociology, and I was always wondering, what is it for me to understand my choices or myself? Should I study maybe psychology, neuroscience? What is it? And what I would like to share with you today is an entirely new paradigm of thinking. And that is the science of complexity. I know I said simplicity in the beginning, just bear with me for a bit. So complex science looks at different systems and compares them to find commonalities or universal laws, you could say. So we can start with a question for you. One system is you. You are a human. So what do you have in common with the city of Würzburg and a beehive? May sound a bit strange, that question. So let's look into that. First of all, these are all systems with boundaries. So please take a quick look at your hand. So, seriously, I'm not continuing until you all look at your hand. Great. So you know where your fingertips end. Who does not know? Okay, you're pretty good. Thank you. You can put your hands down. Similarly, when you leave the city of Würzburg, you come across a corresponding street sign. So, systems with clear boundaries. The second thing is that all these systems, they consist of parts. In the city, you have buildings, you have humans. In a beehive, you have the individual bees. And now these parts, they interact with one another. Some of you may have learned that bees like to dance to communicate with one another. And in the city, you find bars, you find traffic jams, and you find TEDx conferences. This interaction leads to what is called a new emerging quality. To give you one example, you as humans, you have your cells, you have your neurons, and you also have something what is called a mind. And with that, an amazing capacity to create meaning out of what is happening. And you cannot explain mind by only looking at the single neurons. So something new is emerging out of the parts. And then to understand what is emerging, we have to look at the interactions. Which brings us to the next commonality. All these parts in these systems, they interact with one another. Yet at the same time, parts have freedom in a certain way. They can choose or they can relate to one another. And lastly, and this is very important, these rules are simple. So think again of Würzburg. In order to organize the entire transportation system in Würzburg, you have traffic lights with 3 colors only. So 3 colors, how simple is that? And you better follow the rules when you're driving with your car. In other contexts, we have a bit more freedom. So we can pass new laws, or we can invent new words like Googling. So we as humans, we create rules, we reinforce them, and we can also change them. And with that, we can change our world. And this is what we do daily. Sounds simple, right? And it brings us at the same time to a certain paradox. If everything is based on simplicity, on simple rules, how and why do we make it so difficult? So this is me. As you can see from my hair, it's just a few weeks ago. And I was running the half marathon in Bonn. So I took the decision to run that half marathon without really knowing what's going to happen. And then 2 months before the run, somehow I had a wake-up call. And I was thinking, damn it, it's not just signing up for that half marathon. I have to take other decisions as well. So this is what I said to myself. No alcohol, no coffee, less sugar. I couldn't get rid of that. And I downloaded a fitness app. You all know it's very simple rules, and you know from experience, it's super hard to follow. And here's what happened. Well, I really love my coffee in the morning. I am identified to that as part of my routine. At some point I was traveling to Bavaria. I come from Bavaria. I really love drinking beer with friends. So you know the temptation that is just around me all the time. And this is what happens quite often. We have peer pressure. We want to live up to others' people's expectations. And lastly, we need perseverance. This is not a choice that you just take once. I had to reinforce all these choices every day. And that is what takes mental discipline. So the bottom line here is choosing and staying with simplicity is really, really difficult. Yet, we all know it's possible. And this is why I would like to share my personal theory of changing the world in 4 steps. The first one, we already talked about it. It's to understand systems. And when you understand that you are relating with other people, you also understand that what you do matters. What you do is creating the environment for yourself and other people. For me, the next step was to know myself, because we talked about choices before. And it's super, super important that you know for what and why you are choosing. So to know your values and also to know your purpose. If you know that, you have a stable reference point for your experiences. As third step, take decisions. In the case before, I was taking decisions for myself. I think it's also really important and valuable to also take decisions for your environment. So with whom you want to meet, with whom you want to act and do things. So choose your environment as well. And then, as the fourth step, go out, act and create. And when you do so, trust in yourself and trust in other people. And this is why this is so powerful. What you can see there is a little chart. We are creating our own reality in our interaction with other people in daily life. Systems, in a way, tell us what to do, and we can tell back. If we now ask our nerdy friends, they would say the following. The social construction of reality is a dialectical process between individual and society. And the twist here on that chart is that you see a difference between big society and your direct environment. You cannot go out and just change the law or political system overnight. Well, you can try, but it's really, really hard. You can, however, choose your direct environment. And this is really where the power lies. So that we team up, we come together with shared values, with a shared purpose, and we start acting jointly. So when I understood that for myself, I came back to Germany. I studied sociology, and at some point I was really, really diving deeper into myself, trying to understand what is it that I want to create, that I really want to bring into this world. And I came up with the following. I want to create environments for people where they can fully trust and embrace change. Environments where we can be vulnerable, where we can be fully ourselves, where we also care about other people and we care about our future. And I wanted to create communities and also organizations that are driven by a deeper purpose. where I stand up in the morning and I'm really motivated to jointly do things with other people. And once I had that clear for myself, remember, step 3, I took the decision to look around me, and I saw so many other people that want to do similar things. So yes, maybe I am crazy, but I'm definitely not alone with my crazy wish. And what is even more amazing, just a few weeks after I went out and I connected to people, we actually started to create these environments. So what you can see here is a map. It's a map of a social entrepreneurship community that we are currently building in Bonn. We build it around a central hub, which is called the Tannenbusch House. And the motto of that house is to be a space of trust and wholeness. And we support both personal development and also joint action. And this is now really important, because now we are more than 350 people in that community, and almost none of these connections that you see here existed even 1 year ago. So now we have events almost daily. We build new partnerships, new relations with local organizations, and we are soon at that point where we can actually influence Bonn on a bigger scale. And probably we will not stop there. And you also know the recipe behind that. It's the 4 steps, not 5, 4. The first 2 steps, more introvert, that I had to figure out for myself. I first had to acknowledge that yes, what I do matters. What I do influences my environment. Or yes, I can create an environment. That was a very important step for myself to take. As next step, well, what is it actually that I want to create then? And I came up with trust, spaces of trust. And once I had that clear, I could connect to other people and I could just go out there. And now we are really creating together. And I can promise you, we are enjoying the ride. So now, can I stay with that simplicity? Not always. I still do sometimes, or to be honest, actually daily, make my life difficult. So for example, I still worry a lot about team processes. I'm concerned about the finances behind everything. I'm afraid to fail myself. I'm afraid to stay on a stage like that. But what really drives me is that passion that I see around me, the passion that I see when we are coming together in a space like that, or even today, when we are coming together here. And I know that we have everything inside of us to lead that change, to create the future we desire from the inside out. And for this reason, as I promised in the beginning, I would like to do a little experiment with all of you together. So, are you ready? Yeah? There's nothing to see over there. So I invite you now just to take a few moments and to close your eyes. To go inside and to take one decision for yourself or for other people. It can be something like starting a new diet. It can be something like starting a project. It doesn't really matter how big or small that decision seems to be for you right now. What is important is that it comes from you, that you really care about that decision and the change that that decision brings. Now I want you to feel that you have all the capacities, the power to follow through, that you can do that. And also to realize that there are people around you that are supporting you. You might know these people already now, or you will meet them when you go out. Okay, you can open your eyes. And you can look around you. We now took over 100 decisions in this room to literally change the world. And what I would like to do now, or to you to do, is to talk about these decisions. We will still have some time today, so share among each other. Share with your friends, share with your family, talk about these decisions. And personally, I would really, really like to hear about your decisions as well. Because for me, the ride of changing the world is definitely much more fun together. Thank you.